kayfabe is no longer a closely guarded secret, there are still things the WWE would prefer the fans remain ignorant about. We've told you about some of the WWE's secret workings in previous videos, but there are even more we've uncovered. Here are 10 more secrets the WWE doesn't want you to know. Number 1. Sound effects enhance weapon shots. As we've discussed in our previous video, the WWE relies on gimmicked weapons to make it look like wrestlers are murderizing one another when their so-called weapons are just glorified props. One way the WWE enhances the experience is through its use of sound effects. As any Wrestlemaniac worth their salt will tell you, the WWE sweetens its crowd reactions, whether it's adding cheers to Roman Reigns matches or adding boos to certain matches. Likewise, the WWE will enhance a weapon shot by adding the appropriate effect by using the magic of a soundboard. Regardless of the sound, the shots still hurt like hell, but currently there's no word on how long before the WWE adds Batman-esque pows and bams to its shows for the home viewers. Number 2. Bullet Club merchandise is outselling WWE merchandise in some stores. If fans wonder why wrestlers such as Cody Rhodes or the Young Bucks are content working as members of the Bullet Club in Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, consider this December 2017 story, which stated, Bullet Club merchandise has sold 417,430 units in the past 4 months. So consider these calculations on the above numbers alone. Now let's break this down a bit. Assuming the Bullet Club boys have a royalty rate around $7.50 per $25 shirt, which could be still lowballing things, that still comes to $3,130,725. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega likely get more due to the fact their merchandise sells the most. But assuming this number is divided equally between every member of the Elite, that is still $521,787.50, which is a considerable amount of money. That, however, is just the tip of the iceberg. According to a 2017 story by Dave Meltzer, Bullet Club t-shirts were the top seller at Hot Topic store at one point, even outselling the popular Rick and Morty show. Rumour has it, there were so many Bullet Club t-shirts in view during WrestleMania 33 weekend that one merchandise vendor reportedly asked WWE personnel how they could get the items, unaware that the Bullet Club wasn't even affiliated with the WWE. Is the WWE in danger of losing to Ring of Honor or New Japan? Of course not, but you can be certain the WWE is trying to figure out a way to outdo their would-be rivals, especially when it gives wrestlers in the Bullet Club less incentive to jump ship to the WWE. Number 3. KANE'S PYRO is a spoiler. If you've been keeping up with our videos, you know that the WWE has scaled back its pyro in effort to cut down costs. This has led eagle-eyed fans to notice that whenever KANE wrestles, which we know has slowed down tremendously over the last couple of years, it's a given if he will lose if his pyro goes off before the match begins, because the WWE is too cheap to use it before and after the match. Yes, there have been exceptions, but it's become a surefire way of predicting the Big Red Machine's matches' outcomes. Number 4. NXT loses millions. While there's no question that NXT has provided some great matches for fans, as well as a place for wrestlers to learn the WWE style, the promotion is by no means a financial success. While some fans see NXT as an example of how good the WWE product could be if the main roster was booked by Triple H, its financial game, pun intended, seems to have a lot to be desired. There is no doubt that some fans appreciate the NXT show over Raw or SmackDown Live, but NXT has to be seen as a vanity project on some levels, as it runs live events with big budgets in arenas too small to make a profit. On an episode of his podcast, The Jim Cornette Experience, the former booker of Ohio Valley Wrestling commented, NXT in 2016 sold $7 million in tickets and had $20 million in expenses. In 2017, NXT had let's say $6 million in ticket sales and $25 million in expenses. In all honesty, 2016 they lost $13 million. 2017 they lost $19 million, and that's not a ton of money for that whole company and organization up there. But you can imagine what me and Danny Davis could have done with Ohio Valley Wrestling if they said, okay guys, you can bring in anybody that you want that's not on the main roster or sign to New Japan, and you can lose $32 million over the next 2 years. Holy f***. The Louisiana Lip recognized that NXT has helped develop some good stars, but added, I understand they're making the investment in training their future superstars, and they have to. They figured out that they have to, because they're not getting them from anywhere else. So they have to train their own. But my god, the WWE is hopefully playing a long game here, as they endeavour to make up what they lose now by developing money-making megastars for tomorrow. Number 5. Wrestlers work the left. Chances are you've heard that heels traditionally call the moves during a match, working their opponent through from start to finish. However, did you also know that wrestlers work the left side of the body? If you watch closely, you may notice that wrestlers work counterclockwise throughout their match. Like most wrestling traditions, there is a good reason for this one, which leads us to the question why the left side is worked. There are different reasons given why wrestlers work the left. One is that it's due to the majority of wrestlers being right-handed. Consider this explanation. Wrestling style in the United States works to the left. Wrestlers are always moving counterclockwise. They work the left side of their opponent's body. When they get up, they move counterclockwise and always end up facing half of the arena the cameras are at. Every time they get into a rest hold, where facial expressions are key, they need to be facing the cameras. It sounds obvious that you would face a camera, but it's easier said than done when you have wrestlers in the ring who are focused on their match and being safe. But it's important that they learn to position themselves correctly, in addition to good work in between the ropes. Number 6. A wrestler who takes a spot sets it up. Sometimes the WWE will go to any length to make something unpredictable, even if by doing so, it becomes predictable. One such instance is that usually the wrestler who sets up the spot to hurt their opponent ends up taking it instead. For example, if a wrestler grabs a chair, chances are they're going to eat it rather than dishing it out to their opponent. This seems to happen even more in situations with tables, as wrestlers spend an inordinate amount of time setting it up, only to get put through them by their opponent. Number 7. The WWE's ratings continue to slide. Don't get us wrong, we're not saying the WWE isn't making money. Far from it. The company recently signed a lucrative deal with NBC to continue airing Raw on USA, and Fox is going to drop a small fortune in order to acquire the rights to SmackDown Live. As if that wasn't enough to keep Mr. McMahon in the millions, the WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia is rumoured to have yielded them anywhere from $100 to $200 million. Nonetheless, any look at the Nielsen ratings show that both Raw and SmackDown Live continue to lose their audience. It should be noted that this isn't limited to the WWE, as the proliferation of cable channels and streaming services has whittled down many shows' ratings. Still, the WWE would prefer that people ignore the decline in ratings. As one analyst at Forbes observed in June 2017, WWE moved to a 3-hour format in 2012, and since then, viewership totals have seen year-to-year drop-offs. Raw's negative ratings pattern since moving to 3 hours indicates viewers burn out, and it just might be time for the promotion to consider moving back to 2 hours. Raw's viewership from 2016 to 2017 has decreased an average of 17.2%. From the beginning of the month to the end of the month, Raw's viewership has eroded by 9%. While ratings continue to go down, with episodes occasionally reaching lows not heard of in decades, the ratings remain comparatively competitive with other cable offerings, which is why NBC and Fox don't seem to mind spending money on shows with an ever-shrinking audience. Number 8. Slapping the thigh. While fans are used to seeing wrestlers stomp their foot on the mat when they throw a punch, they may not catch on when wrestlers slap their thigh when they throw a super kick. While it may seem silly, there's a reason for both maneuvers. In a perfect world, 2 or more wrestlers will simulate violence without doing any harm to their opponent. This is the ideal, but it doesn't always happen, either making matches look worked, or making them look incredibly real because a wrestler has either accidentally or intentionally struck an opponent for real, such as the ludicrous spot in the Randy Orton-Brock Lesnar match at SummerSlam where Lesnar busted up Orton with hard-way shots to the head. A prime example is HBK's super kick, where he kicked his opponent in the chin, knocking him senseless. Or so it seemed. Michaels sweetened his sweet chin music by slapping his thigh when he executed the move, something Dolph Ziggler does as well. Number 9. Wrestlers' tells. Thanks to Kevin Nash's frequent in-ring injuries, fans have become familiar with the referee's X signal, which alerted WWE personnel that there is an actual injury in the ring and that medical attention is needed. Wrestlers can also communicate by wrestlers squeezing a referee's fingers to let them know that they're okay after a nasty-looking bump. The same thing works in the ring between wrestlers when they're calling spots in a match. Unless you're John Cena and you don't care that people hear you seemingly yelling your spots, you'll want a subtler approach to communicating with your opponent. Here, nonchalant acts such as squeezing an opponent's hand can let them know that the Irish whip that you're going to perform is going to be reversed by you. And number 10. Performance enhancing drugs are still used. The WWE has its wellness policy, but it's hard to look at muscleheads such as Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns without immediately wondering which performance enhancing drugs they're on. During an episode of the Matt Riviera podcast, Triple H's nutritionist Dave Palumbo discussed performance enhancing drugs. Palumbo mentioned there are 3 PEDs: hormone replacement therapy (HRT), human growth hormone (HGH), human chorionic gonadotropin (HGC), and explained when and how they could be used in the WWE. They're allowed to take hormone replacement. They can go to a HRT place and get testosterone replacement, 100 milligrams a week. Whatever they prescribe nowadays, those are acceptable. A lot of wrestlers do it, and it's not for me to say who's using what, but they're very minimal doses. The WWE responded to Palumbo's statement by sending a release to Dave Meltzer, who reported, "Today WWE responded to the comments that Palumbo made by saying that he was misinformed on the subject, and the drug policy does not allow for use of those substances unless an endocrinologist and the WWE's medical staff approve of it for legitimate medical need." There are exceptions for the wellness policy, including a stipulation that excludes part-time performer Brock Lesnar from the wellness policy, and exceptions for wrestlers receiving PEDs for medical treatment. Whether or not the WWE's medical staff has a relaxed attitude towards what it constitutes necessary medical treatment is something we'll have to leave this for you to decide. Well guys, there you have it. 10 more secrets the WWE doesn't want you to know. Would you like a part 4? Let us know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.